Good afternoon and welcome to the channel. My name is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice here in Guelph and we are also recently shifting to Mississauga. So we will now have a bigger office in Mississauga. Yeah. So let's just talk about a very interesting topic today, and that is called startup visa. We all know that with express entry score being very high, not many of us are getting an opportunity to being picked up. A lot of you are being shifted or are shifting from being an aspirational express entry candidate to being potential students, a logical step for many of you. And then there are those business owners who are like genuine business owners with genuine entrepreneurial skill and the money and the capacity to come here in Canada to build new business or to buy a new business, things like that are the ones that have been like struggling here and there. So here comes something called startup visa program that have been running for a while now. This is not something a new program. I haven't really made a separate video on this topic for a reason, and I will explain that in the later section of the video. But for this live stream, let's just try to understand what really the program is, what are the requirements slash eligibility, and who are the kind of people that should actually apply for the startup visa, or in other words, who are the kind of people that are the target audience for the startup visa. And let's talk about some numbers, some real financials, like how much money you need, the processing time, most importantly, and how to make it work. So, whether you work with a consultant or a lawyer or you do it yourself, in other words, how to make it work, right? So, what is a startup visa, right? So, the government of Canada is giving an opportunity to the entrepreneurs or the business owners who are having some kind of a successful business back home or having an idea. So, you can either have an idea, just an idea, or having a successful business. If you are able to monetize or if you're able to prove that you can come to Canada either with the idea or with the business and can create a successful startup here in Canada by following the specific requirements that IRCC is telling you to, you can potentially get yourself a permanent residence and eventually a citizenship for yourself and your family members. So this is what a startup visa is. Now, so that's more on the theoretical side of things. That well, you can have an idea as well, and somebody is going to invest based on your ideas, right? That's more on the theoretical side of things. Let's try to look at the IRCC website and understand it more from the practical standpoint, like what are the real requirements and how to make it work. So the first real requirement of this program is that you have to have a qualifying business. The term qualifying is superbly important here because it just cannot be any business, right? It has to qualify. It has to be your business. And the beauty of this program is that you, along with four other founding partners or your business partners, like genuine business partners, can apply together. And all those five families can potentially receive permanent residence, up to five. So you can apply on your own, just alone with your family, or you can have four other partners joined along with your application as well. So that's one of the beauty of the programs, right? So the nutshell, you have to have a qualifying business. So what is a qualifying business? The simplistic way to understand is that it is your business. You are having the majority of the voting rights in the business. You actively manage and participate in the decision making, and it's, in short, it's your business, right? And you manage the business on your own. You are being fully deployed and employed in that business. So that is a qualified business. That is very important. Many of us have this kind of feeling that, well, if I buy a business while I'm in my home country, can I buy a business in Canada that can give me a potential work permit and a permanent residency, but I my bandwidth is already occupied. I do not want to manage that business on my own, or I do not have the bandwidth to manage that business on my own. So this is not a qualifying business, right? It Qualifying business means it is your business, and you should be managing the business just like an owner operator does. That is number one. Second one is the most important of all, and that is to get a letter of support from a designated organization here in Canada. So, who are those designated organizations? Three segments of organizations, three broad segments of organizations, if you will, are being designated by the government of Canada. Number one are the venture capital funds. Number two are the angel investors. Number three are the incubators. Angel investors and venture capitalists, so they have their own set of capital. So in theory, you would approach them, they will be blown away by your idea, and then they would be very much eager to invest on your business. So theoretically, again, mind you, theoretically, you do not have to have any money. You can just have an idea or have a business, yet you do not have to have enough money. You can approach any of the venture capital funds or an angel investor, and that person will be, and it's your responsibility obviously to make them blown away with your idea so that they can invest on your business. That's on the theoretical side of things. Third is the incubators. Incubators meaning that they will be assisting you in developing a business in Canada, but they will not be investing on your business, right? They will be helping you to maybe to draft a marketing plan, maybe to find your potential clients, maybe to help you finding a real site for your factory if you are to build up a factory, for example, right? So that's the segment that is incubators, and they're going to charge you some fees for their work, for the incubation work that they do. So in other words, you have to get a letter of support from either of the one, either from a venture capital fund or from an angel investor or from an incubator. That letter of support, if you're working with an IRCC, that letter of support goes to the IRCC, and then they also have to send a commitment certificate to the IRCC. So the letter of support comes to an RCIC, a commitment certificate goes to the IRCC, and then together you can either apply for your work permit or permanent residency. So getting a letter of support is the most important of all, and I will explain that to you in, in the later section of the stream in a more practical standpoint, right? The third is that you have to meet the language requirements, right? Obviously, you are coming to Canada. You have to speak in language, in one of the official languages, either English or French. But the language requirements are very, very basic. This is just about CLB5, right? So you just have to have CLB5. Fourth requirement is that you have to bring enough money to settle. Now, this has more to do with your settlement fund. For example, if you're coming here with your wife and your child for a family of three, you should show approximately 21,000 Canadian dollars, 20,700 something. So let's just assume 21,000 Canadian dollars, almost in line with what a federal, program like an express entry would need. Nothing crazy out here. So four criteria. What's Just to recap: have a qualifying business, get a letter of support from the designated, like one of the designated organizations here in Canada, meet the language requirements, have enough money to settle here in Canada, right? So you have a qualifying business, you meet the language requirements, and you have enough money to settle. I do not think these three are a problem areas, right? These three are not the major problem areas, at least with majority of my clients that I happen to speak to over a consultation. The crux of the story is to get the letter of support from a designated organization. If you remember in the early part of the video, I mentioned about the theory versus the practical side of things. The reason that I say that is because IRCC is telling you, well, you can just have an idea, and if you are able to sell your ideas to a venture capital firm, for example, or an angel investor, for example, then they will be ready to invest on your ideas. Now, do you think this is a practical situation? This is a practical solution? Maybe for 1 or 2% of you, but may not be for 98% of them, right? Because you just have to understand, if you put yourself into the shoes of a venture capital firm or an angel investor, at this point in time, along with you, maybe they're receiving this kind of similar request to supporting their business from 1 million people, if not more. How on earth is your business idea is so different that they will not look at other applications and take a look at your application, right? Or you may have an innovative idea, but imagine the kind of applications, the number of applications that these guys receive. What is the probability that they are even going to take a look at your application? So once they take a look at the application, only then the question comes whether whether your idea is great or not, right? So it's the most important thing to have them take a look at the application, have them take a look at the business plan. So, taking a step back, is it really a good idea to opt for the startup visa if you just have an idea with no business? Theoretically, yes. Practically, no. If you come to me for a consultation, if you tell me, well, Nilatri, I have an idea which can change the world, but I do not have anything substantial. I do not have any revenue. I do not have any monetization aspect of the idea as yet. My suggestion will be not to apply for the startup visa. I personally take clients who are having some kind of a business. The business may not be net positive, the business may be running at a loss. It doesn't really matter. It has to be a business, in my opinion, to make it work, because getting a letter of support is just one part of the story. The real story is to having a work permit approved and then having your PR approved, right? So if somebody comes to me for a consultation, 99% of the times I'm going to tell them that you have to have a business, like a real business. And it could be anything. It could be literally anything. It could be hardware, software, technology, non-technology, anything. But it has to be scalable. The term scalability is a defining term here. It has to be a scalable business, something that could be scaled, meaning that you cannot come to Canada on a startup visa if your intention is to create a real estate company here, because you cannot say that, well, I will create maybe 50 restaurants over a period of 5 years. That is not scalability. Scalability is something like a product that has a global appeal, a service that has a global appeal, right? And that scalability factor leads to the fact that eventually you have to prove that at some point in time you will employ a Canadian permanent resident or a Canadian citizen or a bunch of Canadian permanent residents or citizens to help you with that business. That is the whole objective. So you should have a real business. It does not matter whether that gives you a profit or not, but you should have a real business. Okay, once you start venturing into this program. Now, out of the four factors that I've highlighted, if you remember, I mentioned that the most important puzzle or most important equation of this whole puzzle is to solve is to get a letter of support, right? Now, you can write 1,000 emails to venture capital firms, maybe 2,000 emails to angel investors. The possibility of you getting back, or even you write to incubators, the possibility of you hearing back is very, very slim, because these guys work very, very differently. Their working pattern is very different, their application is very different, the way to approach them is very, very different. Now, if you ask me from my experience, if you are able to get a letter of support from an incubator, the real possibility of success is very, very high, because those guys are going to give you support. They're going to work with you in tandem with you to help you provide adequate support to establish you as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, once you're in, here in Canada, right? So if I have to shortlist between a venture capital fund and an incubator and an angel investor, my first preference will be incubators. They are the ones that really, really provide support, and they are the ones with whom you can actually make things work, right? So incubation is a process that can last for a few months to a year maybe, and then they will charge some incubation fees, which I'm going to talk in the later part of the video, right? But that is something that really, really works. The fourth part, let's just come on the financials, right? Because obviously we are on, wondering how much the whole process is going to cost. Let's just break it down for you. If you're going with an incubator, expect to pay about $40,000 to $45,000 to a business incubator. But it's not that you pay them the money and you get the letter of support. No, have to understand is that a Canadian government, out of maybe 1,000 incubators, have shortlisted only a select few, and hence their selection criteria of the potential entrepreneurs such as you is very high. The bar is here, right? So you really have to prepare your business plan accordingly, have to pitch deck accordingly, and let's just face it, you have to know somebody in that organization to have your voice heard, right? And over a period of last few months, we have developed some very good relationships with the CEOs of a couple of prominent business incubators who are ready to work with our clients, right? And it's not that if you come to us and you will 100% get a letter of support or your PR will be approved 100%. No, it is not, because obviously, as I say in all my videos, the application has to be assessed properly by IRCC, and for them to assess your application properly, you have to provide what they're looking for. But it is the responsibility of the RCIC and the incubator. So here both the things will go in parallel. One part of the work will be done by the RCIC, such as myself. Another part of the work will be done by the business incubators, and those two things run in parallel to make it work, right? So over a period of time, we have developed some very good associations with a couple of business incubators, and the things are going very, very good, right? So let's talk about financials, right? $40,000 to $45,000 you expect to shell to a business incubator. About $20,000, expect to be paid to the immigration law firm that you end up working with, such as myself. Obviously, it's all paid in installments, but that is something you're looking at. That's broader scale. Plus, you have to have about $50,000 some kind of capitalization fees, right? Because once you get your letter of support, you would then need to invest some money here in Canada to develop a business, right? So you need at least $50,000. So about 120, 100, $130,000. You need to complete this overall process. 120,000 Canadian dollars is a good idea. Is a good money to be bucketed for to complete this overall process. Is it cheap? No. Is it expensive? Not really, because if you are to buy a business in here in Canada, it is going to cost you way more time. Yes, I'm explaining that in the next section. How fast is the startup process? That's in the next step, for sure. So let's talk about, so financial wise, 120 $130,000 is what you are looking at to complete this whole process. But again, not everything to be shelled out in one attempt, not everything to be paid in one go. You will find specific retainer agreement. And mind you, do not fall prey to the trap who says that, well, pay me my money, I'm guaranteed. You are guaranteed to receive a letter of support. No, because even if you receive a guaranteed letter of support, your application on work permit could eventually be refused if that is not done correctly, right? So do not again fall prey to those kind of situations or traps. It is good to prepare your application in such a manner so that you can have a guaranteed letter of support. But that requires a lot of effort, and how you're writing your pitch deck, how you're writing your business plan, how you're putting your financials, how strong is your financials, how strong is your projection, or in other words, how logical are your financial numbers. Those play a very important role, and how everything has to put together. And I'm not talking about the IRCC stage. I'm talking about the fact once you are sending your application to incubator, to a business incubator to evaluate, because then you have to go through multiple rounds of interviews with the various partners of the incubators to have your application selected. So it's not only paying $40,000, for example, and get a letter of support. It's, you should have that money because that is the cost of this process, but you have to do your stuff properly. It has to be a qualifying business. You have to meet the language requirements, which is CLB5. You have enough money. Now, what is the definition of enough money? About $50,000 worth of capitalization fees, which you have to spend on your own business. It could be 30,000, it could be 100,000. I don't know. 50,000 is a decent enough money that mostly people spend. Immigration lawyers fees, consultations fees, about $20,000, give or take here and there, plus your business incubator fee, which is about $40,000. Plus, let's just factor out about $5,000 to $7,000 worth of immigration fees, such as Government of Canada, your IELTS, your all those things, right? So that's the financial side of things. Now, somebody asked me a good question as to uh, how to sort of, how fast is the processing time? It's fairly fast. That is the beauty of it, right? You go to express entry and you wait for years. You go for a PNP, God knows when you get the invitation. You go for a student visa, that's a different way. 100% workable, but that's a different way. How fast is the process? Typically for my clients, from signing the agreement till getting the letter of support takes about 2 months, give or take. For some clients, it has even taken 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but I will not put a rosy picture here because documentation takes time. Some clients have their own delays in giving us the document so that we could file it accordingly. So about 2 months, maybe 3 months at max to get the letter of support. And then for an SUV, for a startup visa program, then getting a work permit. So once you get a letter of support, based on that, immediately apply for the work permit, like immediately. So have your work permit application kit ready as well, and then wait for the letter of support and then apply for the work permit. For a startup visa, the work permit application processing is not really high. You do not think it is going to take me months or years, just about 2 months and you will have your work permit. I do not want to again portray a rosy picture. In fact, when clients ask me about the processing time, I always have some buffer to give a realistic picture. But realistically, startup visa work permit does not take a lot of time because the government knows that he's a genuine entrepreneur who is going to come to Canada to create business opportunity for the potential Canadians and PRs, and can pay taxes. So it is a win-win situation for everybody, right? So that works. So processing time will not be very high. Let's just say if you start the process today, on 3rd of August, 2nd of August, or 3rd of August, and if all goes well, you probably get a letter of support by maybe beginning of October, August, September, maybe beginning of October, and may get your work permit by the end of December, or maybe by the mid of December. Is Do you know any fastest way than this? I do not, and this is one of the fastest way to get yourself a work permit. Once you get yourself a work permit, you can obviously apply for the dependent visa of your spouse and your children. Everybody can come to Canada, and you have to then start your business. And this is exactly where the business incubators really help. You will have your training sessions with them. It could be virtual, it could be face to face, but these days it is mostly virtual, which is good anyways. You can then, and really they're going to help you with anything, like from picking up the space for your business, or maybe to have sort of polishing your business idea as it takes from time to time, to help you generate the real business. So these guys are going to help you with literally everything. So that's really the role of the incubators. And if you end up working with the good incubators, such as some of the ones that I work with, and I specifically recommend one too, for my clients, the processing time will not be very high, because again, something to do with your personal relationship as well. And obviously, I try to push for my clients, and you get things done that way, right? So it's not only about the IRCC processing time, it's the processing time at the incubator's end as well. And if you end up working with a good business incubator, the getting a letter of support is will not be that challenging thing, or that time taking thing, if you will. Obviously, if you're able to prove your points properly in that application, and then getting a work permit approved, again, if that application is correct, is not a big thing. And then obviously PR takes time, right? PR will take about 25 to 30 months. So PR can easily take over 2 years, but it really does not matter, because you're then running your business with a work permit, right? And at that point in time, it's just fine, right? Because PR anyways takes time these days. And once you have your work permit, you are then getting all the benefits that a Canadian permanent resident would have, right? You have your insurance, your kids are going to free school, you get your hospitalization and medicals, everything for free. You're not really leaving behind, and you are then able to live the life of what a Canadian would, get to know the country a little bit, grow your business. And in that period of time, once you're here in Canada on a work permit and your PR is under process, the role of the RCIC and the role of the incubators is still to be able to prove to the government of Canada, to IRCC from time to time, that yes, you are running your business properly, and yes, this is not just a hook and crook way to come to Canada and not doing anything out of it. So you still have to be running your business successfully till you get your PR. What you do after your PR is up to you. People, I suggest always to be honest with their application and to keep on running the business, what you think is good for you. But again, it's a personal choice. But till about PR, you have to be running and operating your business, right? So this is small. So if all goes well, starting from contract signing till about getting a work permit takes about 6 months, let's say on an average. To your PR takes about 2 years, but then you can come to Canada within that time with your family, and can do whatever you want to run your business. Your spouse can join work along with your business, or can join any employer, because you will then have an open work permit. Your kids can go to public school for free, and then you are obviously enjoying all the benefits. So this is what this startup visa process, in a nutshell. This is a process that really works. I did not make a video of this topic because I was sort of building my relationships with the incubators for the last few months, and I have had quite a few successful meetings, who have promised me to give me the support which I was looking for my clients. So I thought it's a right time for me to make a video to let all of you know that if you think that you're leaving behind because of the express entry not happening, because of your age. The other important factor that I should point out is the age factor. Excuse me. regardless of whether you are 25 or you're 45 or even 55. This is a paper application. This has really nothing to do with your express entry points or whatever, right? So as long as these points that I have just explained are met, you and your family get the PR. So you do not have to be queuing up for the express entry points, worrying that your age is increasing and all this kind of stuff, right? You have to have an innovative idea. No, it may not be like creating next Tesla, but it has to be scalable, it has to make sense, and it has to be a genuine business. Plus, you have the potential, you have the money, and then startup visa is definitely going to be one of the important program or most workable program, if you will, at this point in time. Couple of points. If you end up working with me, a lot of clients ask this question, which are generic questions in my opinion. If you end up working with me, the very first step will be to come for a professional consultation. For a startup visa, for virtual consultations, we charge 200 Canadian dollars for a session, right? So you have to book a professional consultation. Send us an email, contact@novonation.ca. I will be happy to consult you, or I can meet you even face to face if you would like in Mississauga, Ontario, right? That option is also there. Then, if you decide to sign a contract with me, I am going to charge about 20,000 Canadian dollars. I am being very upfront about my fees. I have nothing to hide. All the fees are available on my website as well. But I do not mind to make a public statement that I charge about 20,000 Canadian dollars to help my clients with the end-to-end process of startup visa. Obviously, you do not have to pay me $20,000 in cash from the start with. There will be multiple installments attached to the milestones of the project, which we can discuss when the time comes. Incubators, as I have said, I have my own contacts with incubators that I'm going to have you introduced to in due course of time. Then eventually there will be two retainer agreements that will be running. One, your retainer agreement with incubators. Obviously, I know what's happening there. Another is your retainer agreement with myself as an RCIC. Obviously, I'm doing that immigration part of thing. Now, this is a three. Now, consider this as a triangle. You, the client, the business incubator, they are the business side of things. Me, RCAC, the legal, the business planning, your immigration side of things. All these things have to run in tandem to make it work. Does it work? Really, really does it work? It does work. For whom? Who are the genuine clients? For who are able to prove that their idea is scalable, who are able to prove that their idea is unique, and obviously who have the money. So uh, age and all those things are really not that important. What is important is what I have already highlighted. So if you think that you have this kind of money, if you think that you have a business idea that you think may work, may not work, uh, you can come for a consultation. I will be very happy to talk to you, to talk to you in detail, to see how it works, and to make it work for you. But again, if you have to sort of put all the programs in a pyramid structure that work and that they do not work, at this point in time, I will probably put startup visa onto the top shelf because this work. Some people are confused, saying that, well, if I can come to Canada and buy myself a real estate, will that give me a startup visa? Absolutely no, right? You can buy as many real estate properties as you want, but that is not going to give you any legal status here in Canada. It has to be a legal business. It has to be your business. Ideally, you should start this business on your own, from your own, with the support of the incubators. And this is exactly why I'm stressing on the fact incubators, because if you get help from an incubator, it makes sense for an RCIC to write that kind of a submission letter to prove to IRCC that this is a genuine client who are being directly working with an incubators, and hence it's a genuine client, and hence you should give them PR or their work permit, and hence you should give them PR, right? If you do without incubator such as a venture capital, well, you may wait for years to even hear back, and you may not even hear back. If you wait for an angel investor, same story. So let's just focus on something that works. Yes, it costs money, but yes, it works. But it does not really mean that you're paying money to buy peer. You're paying for the professional services fee. This is a fundamental concept that I would really request all of you to understand. It could be a failure as well. It may also happen that you've paid $100,000 and your program, your application is not successful. Does it happen? It does happen. Does it happen very often? No. If you end up working with somebody that knows what the person is doing, if you end up working with an incubator that is renowned, that is legal, that knows what the person is doing, if the due diligence process is strong enough, if they do not take literally all the clients but take somebody that is genuine, your application is bound to be successful. So as I've said, if you need me to consult you or an option on startup visa or any other business immigration, it costs 200 Canadian dollars per hour. I could either meet you face to face in Mississauga or can do a virtual meeting, which is a much more easier option from anywhere in the world. Feel free to send me an email, contact at novonation.ca, and I shall be glad to contact you. I hope this helps, and I will see you in one of the next live streams. And I see one or two questions. Any specific kind of business? No. No specific kind of business line. It could be anything. It has to be scalable. And Mr. Legal Lee, long time. Yes, a very familiar name. Did I consult you in the past? I somewhat have a feeling that I did consult you in the past. I'm not able to recollect, but yes, your name is very familiar. You used to come to my live stream before. I've moved more towards recording videos, but startup visa is already like over 30 minutes, so I thought to make a longer video to explain you everything. And let's talk about real numbers. I do not want to have like a hushy kind of a situation wherein everything is opaque. I want to have a transparent situation. You go to my website, all the numbers are there. And in this video in public forum, I even explained and talked to you about my professional services fee if you are to hire me or anybody else that you think more fits your needs. But this is how the process would work, and anybody that is genuine, anybody that knows what he or she is doing will be working in this periphery. Hope this helps. I will leave you guys there. I have one more consultations in the next half an hour. So I'll leave you there. If you need professional support, drop us a line, contact at novonation.ca, and I shall be very glad to consult you. Thank you. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye now. Cheers.